My name is Tapahpunja Das. I am a disciple of A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. I've had the pleasure of living in New Vrindaban for approximately 40 years. My main service here is to farm, do organic gardening, and then do educational Krishna conscious outreach using farming and gardening as the instrument for reaching out to a broader audience, especially a Western audience. In the effort to do that, I've created two dominant growing sites. One is called the Teaching Garden, that's where we're sitting right now. That's half an acre of organic gardening. The second site is called the Garden of Seven Gates. That's 6.5 acres, and that is surrounded by an 8-foot high fence. One of the big challenges to growing food in the hills of West Virginia is that the deer population is voracious, and there's approximately 100 deer per square mile here. So the approach that we've taken to try to grow things without hurting the deer is to create a large 8-foot high fence around that garden. The vegetables, the grains, and the culinary herbs that we grow are used in 4 ways. The first way, of course, is to make sure that the deities are offered the first and the best of everything, so that Sri Sri Radha Vrindavan Chandra's offerings reflect the effort to make Krishna the first enjoyer. The second destination of that food is to make sure that the devotees living in the mandir, in the temple itself, are eating fresh and organic. The third destination is to see that the grihastas, the householders who live on the edge of New Vrindavan, have an available source of organic produce that's affordable. So that's kind of our motto, is to make organic affordable. And the fourth destination is to take our surplus produce into the local metropolitan Wheeling and Moundsville area and freely distribute it to the soup kitchens and the food pantries throughout the area. So once, or very often twice a week, we'll take a box and boxes of organic vegetables. And as a result, we've created a educational outreach program in Wheeling called Green Wheeling Alive. And we've partnered now with churches, social service agencies, low-income housing projects. We put gardens in abandoned lots. We have now a network of about 22 garden projects throughout the greater Wheeling area. So the flagship for that expansion of New Vrindavan's own farming, the Green Wheeling Alive project, makes a great opportunity to bring people here for workshops. In the last 2 years, we've conducted about 30 workshops, about half of those in Wheeling itself, the other half here. And besides just teaching the ABCs of organic farming and organic growing, we also link the issue of spirituality to sustainability. By the grace of Srila Prabhupada, sustainability can be explained in such a unique way. We have cutting-edge philosophical points that we can make that make us uniquely qualified to teach why people should be sustainable for the right spiritual reasons, not just secular reasons, not just how to do a compost pile or how to grow carrots or how to grow cauliflower or just how to have a healthy body, but why you should be motivated to be sustainable, because the creation, Krishna's creation, is meant for Krishna's pleasure. So that's a big challenge, because we're in an area where people are not generally used to eating healthy food. So to introduce those gateway foods that are green, wholesome, and transformational, to help people make a transformation to healthier eating, is a stepping stone towards the mode of goodness. And in that effort to bring people up to a higher level of eating and consciousness, then you can begin introducing Krishna consciousness to them. By way of example, I recently did a workshop at a large university entitled "Bad Karma is Not Sustainable," subtitled "Farming as if Your Next Life Depends Upon It." In the audience of 100 people, I made the point that for a farming model to actually be sustainable, it not only protects the land from degradation such as erosion or demineralization, it not only protects the water from runoff toxic chemicals or groundwater pollution, but besides protecting the land, besides protecting the water, it also has to protect the farmer, he or she, from karmic vulnerability. If in fact you're learning to farm and it involves the taking of life unnecessarily, there's a karmic component to that. And most people who are actually involved in sustainable agriculture or the local foods movement or organic eating like that are progressive enough to understand that there is such a thing as karma. By the grace of Srila Prabhupada, we can explain that concept in such detail and with such refinement that we can show why being vegetarian is a stepping stone towards spiritual life. And that's a very exciting field of preaching. I know in America, 1 out of every 200 teenagers is now a vegetarian. So there's a growing demographic of young people, especially, who are moving towards a much more holistic diet. And therefore, Krishna consciousness fits perfectly with explaining why you should be motivated to do that beyond just keeping the body healthy. It's actually part of your spiritual identity. So the reality is, in the West, the secular gurus of the organic farming movement all drew on Indian thought and Vedic practices even before they wrote their treatises. For example, Sir Alfred Howard, Rudolf Steiner, or the American transcendentalists like Ralph Waldo Emerson, Henry David Thoreau, all were familiar with Bhagavad Gita and the concept that there's a type of culture that lends itself to self-realization, and the manifestation of that, or the backdrop for that kind of culture, is a vibrant, flourishing agrarian economy. So to teach about how to develop an agrarian economy here, there's really two components. The first one is the actual mechanics of farming. How do you grow things? How do you do this? How do you do that? But having to go side by side with that is the social side or the spiritual side as well. If in fact you're just learning the skill of how to grow things and you're not bringing people along with you as in terms of why they should be learning these things, why it's exciting, and why it connects them to spiritual life, it's just hard work. Farming is very hard work. It takes a lot of mental discipline and it takes a lot of physical stamina to do farming. So Chanakya Pandit, the great Brahmin advisor of great Vaishnava kings, he pointed out that farming is actually done by 5. That 5 people, or more accurately, farming is something that's shared in a village-like setting. And that's what makes it exciting, it makes it Krishna conscious, and as the saying goes, many hands make light work. Hare Krishna.